What started as my first coffee shop turned into 10. So I switched to the Spark Cash Card from Capital One. I earn unlimited 2% cash back on every business purchase, like this. That's thousands of dollars going back into my business. What's in your wallet?
Capital One Bank USA N.A.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Episode 2 of the revamped Cheapest Meal presented by Deep Fried Draft. My name is Brian Bosarge. Hope you caught the first episode last week where we had Pigskin Paul Gilmet on as our first guest. But now we're going to bring in our second guest, and we're going to talk a lot about differing topics today. So now I'll bring in my very special guest. He is the Director of Scouting at NFL Draft Bible. He is a contributor for bangthebook.com, and he is the founder of draftscouts.com. My good buddy, Joe W. Everett. Joe, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thanks for having me on, and it's just an honor to be following the infamous Paul Gilmet.
Infamous indeed. And thanks to my poorest performance ever in the top 100 scoring, I'm guessing I'll be buying you lunch at the old Senior Bowl next year. Take it easy on me, Joe.
Oh no, nothing major. Maybe a little Wenzel's, or I don't know that spot you keep talking about that's north on I-65. Maybe finally go there once or something like that. But yeah, I'm not gonna bleed you dry.
I appreciate that, Joe. Joe, first let's get into we'll get into this quickly because we're now about three weeks separated from it. But I just want to get your biggest takeaway from the 2018 NFL Draft.
Kind of I think what a lot of us thought, quarterback heavy and just new destinies for teams on that end. Teams that I thought won right off the bat is just Green Bay. I'm still in awe. Gutekunst, the new GM, what he did. I like moving down. I love the teams that double up on those positions. And maybe it sounds like a waste to some people and completely bizarre theory, but, you're just increasing that likelihood. You're addressing a need position, and the Packers getting two corners that I think they hit on both of those corners potentially. So they come away with a win. I don't know. I'm not nuts about the local draft here for the Colts, but as a Broncos fan personally, I'm elated. That whole thing of Cleveland just passing on Bradley Chubb, and sure, they're fine where they're at defensive end, but you got to believe Denver sprinted to the podium to get the Chubster there. I think that's just going to be deadly for the rest of the AFC West. That's definitely one of them picks that it's like, wow, things in the AFC West just kind of flipped up back to Denver's favor, at least defensively. I think having those two guys, that's just going to be big time. And then, man, I think the Raiders, it's clear John Gruden broke into the draft room and stole the keys from Mr. McKenzie. And, there's just some different things going on there. You look at the last few Raiders drafts, and then you look at this Raiders draft, the Colton Miller thing. I don't know. That could be either or. But, yeah, the reach, I think, with the Sam Houston State tackle, and, nothing against the kid, but, a character guy like that so high, I've got major question marks about the Raiders, man. I'm fearing this first season of trying to take football back to the 90s could result in 5-11. I don't know, 4-12. If I was an Oakland fan there, I would not be happy about the way the direction that team's going.
Yeah, I can't help but feel the good folk in Las Vegas aren't going to be getting the best product on the field at the current pace that this new roster turnover seems to be heading.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, they'll have to change up some things. At least they're getting their star power. I guess that's what they signed on for.
No doubt. Now, you did mention a little bit about the Broncos earlier, and I do want to talk more about them because I know that's your team, and we want to talk about them. Well, you talked about Bradley Chubb, and I'm with you. I think that's going to be scary as hell for AFC West offensive tackles to try to block Chubb and Von Miller. That's crazy. But I do want to get into some of their other picks they made because I really love getting. You don't think a guy like Case Keenum, you know he's not going to be the elevate the talent around him quarterback, so you put talent around him. And I really love Cortland Sutton there at pick 40, and then doubling back with Deshaun Hamilton in the 4th round.
Oh, yeah, and I think Hamilton, meeting him, that's a character guy. You know, I think a lot of people have heard his story about taking care of his brother and his condition and just, you know, how mature he is and how serious he took that whole draft season. I think he really turned himself into whatever late day 3 into a real factor. And, yeah, the Broncos adhering to that doubling up theory. I hopefully both these guys pan out, but I've got to believe one of them for sure has a really successful thing. And then the rest of the draft, I mean, I've been a Fumagalli fan for since the draft season began. I mean, maybe I'm just taking too much out of his bowl game against Western Michigan, but it was just like a and one mixtape for a tight end on some of the catches this guy makes with just 9 fingers. So, yeah, I think Yadam also fits. Royce Freeman, maybe it's a little rich there. But, yeah, overall, I was just digging up my draft grades while we were talking. But, yeah, I gave the Broncos an A. It's largely shaded by Chubb, but they should not be ashamed of the rest of that draft.
Now, I know in last year's draft, I believe it was last year's draft, anyway, you were a big fan of Temple linebacker Tyler Matakevich. And I saw a lot in the same with Josie Jewell from Iowa. I didn't see a starter, but I saw a guy who's going to be a good depth guy, special teams guy. Is that kind of where you are with Josie Jewell, or do you see more out of him?
Yeah, that's another one, the reach, where it's like, man, I wish we didn't pick him that high. But, yeah, I'm not against having a foreign tackler, just really smart, disciplined guy, and maybe he doesn't develop into a long-term starter. I think that's kind of where the viewpoint I'm at. I mean, and hopefully that's where they are. I mean, I guess it's a premium for a special teamer, but if he ends up starting, I don't think he's going to be terribly amiss. It's just that lack of foot speed. That's where it's going to really show out if he gets like some extensive snaps out there and you know, like a real Zach Ertz or a Kelsey just gets out there and starts burning them. It's like, oh no, Jewell is a problem. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't see some long-term answer at middle linebacker there. But hey, if he proves me wrong, I'll be elated.
Now, we were both at the Senior Bowl where this guy played, but I was not very high on him coming into the process. But what do you think about your 3rd-round pick, Isaac Yiadom, the corner from Boston College?
I don't mind it at all. I mean, they like corners with size, and I think that's where the question mark is for, like, Bradley Roby. Everyone's, he's just going to step right in and start. You know, the Broncos were prepared for it to keep Talib. I don't know how well Roby's going to do on the outside, and I think they're looking for a potential answer on the other side of Harris there. I mean, we'll see how things pan out, but I like Yiadom, man. That's a guy that has that long-term potential. Maybe, you know, it's a little distant. I mean, not certainly this year or next, but down the road he could develop. But yeah, it's another one like Yiadom, Jewell. Those are guys. It's like, well, we got them, but we paid a price to get them. I'm not in complete agreement with those picks, but you know, I think there's still potential there. There's nothing wrong with getting a guy like Yiadom just in that room, because I think really Langley, he's the other nickel, and we'll see what Tremaine Brock's got for this season. So. He's going to learn from a really good group, and yeah, maybe year 3 he could be a starter.
Now, we've talked about your team, the Broncos. Let's talk about my team a little bit, the Cincinnati Bengals. And the second-round pick, I know is a guy you love a lot, local high school guy to you. Tell me and other Bengals fans out there about their newest safety from Wake Forest, Jesse Bates.
Oh, I've been watching him since the redshirt freshman season there at Wake. He's out of the Fort Wayne area. It's kind of a factory up there, Bishop Snyder. He was on the baseball team, basketball team, just, your classic all-sport, Mr. All-State, everything. And what really just kind of shines out about his game is the closing speed. It's just how fast he's up on people. It's like a hobo at a train station, man. You just smell him before you see him. It's instant. And I think second in tackles his first season, and then led the team the next year. He's just one of those instant leaders. I don't know. People are comparing him to Reggie Nelson. I'm not digging that comparison as much. I think athletically, he's much more rangy than a Nelson was. I don't know that he's going to be as smart, but it took Nelson some time. I think he was a Jaguars first rounder out of Florida, and then finally he got to Cincinnati. And the real question for the Bengals is, man, so many picks were just, I think, salvaged. They're not salvaged like maybe these guys would have been players, but Mike Zimmer on defense made these picks, and two people. There was question marks about Atkins, question marks about Dunlap, and they weren't these stars until Zimmer got his claws kind of in them. And with that, changing, they really got, I think, are more forced to be right on some of these picks. And I'm very confident in Bates being. I don't know if he's going to be instant right now, because the problem with the Bengals, they've just got a really deep roster. So where he fits in right away, I think they're going to be definite sub-package looks for this guy, and you're going to see it instantly. He's going to make some blow-up hits, and he's going to get his hands on the ball. I mean, just first season, I think he took 2 touchdowns back for scores on interceptions. He definitely knows what to do when he gets the ball in his hands. So I think that's one of the best value picks. And, even just going into the season, you kind of knew. It's like, man, I've got to find out where this guy goes, because he's that total center fielder type. He's going to start, I think, a long time at free safety for the Bangs.
I think Joe Goodberry was after, or maybe a couple of days after the draft, said he looks for the Bengals to go with more of a 3 safety look. Maybe either bringing Sean Williams or George Iloka down into the box more, as in run support, and have Bates, being more of out in center field. So that could be how Bates fits in with Cincinnati, and could improve their overall team speed, definitely on defense. But now, Joe, I think we need to talk about something I know is near and dear to your heart. And this week, the Supreme Court basically set the course for legalized gambling, sports betting, I should say, legalized sports betting throughout the United States. And because of the state of New Jersey suing them, saying it was, unconstitutional, that only Nevada could do it. So what's your takeaway from this, Joe? How do you feel about it?
I'm stoked. I mean, I would, for everyone excited to start throwing down bets, though, I'd say right now pull back the reins. It's only a few states that are fast-tracked. So the real worry I'm having is, you've already heard, I'm sure, a lot of people reading into it, is this integrity fee that leagues are charging, which is just, I'm sure makes everyone smile. But behind all that, and by the way, you can play the gambling, drinking game with me, how many times we're going to hear the word integrity, not only this podcast, but going forward on this subject. I think integrity specialists, integrity officials is going to be a thing, and like a what do you call, hedge industry or whatever. But we're controlling this is going to be part of it. But we're all this pay, we're all this taxes, and each state doing it differently. I'm worried we're going to be playing -20, -130, -1. I'm like heavy juice on every bet now, to where it's not the same as the Vegas will have it set up. I'm sure folks have read into the Pennsylvania stuff that they're going to charge 34%, and then an extra 2%. I don't know if that's on the remainder, and that doesn't even include their excise. If that isn't going to affect the juice, I don't know what is. So there's big worry there that, each state doing it differently. Some states are just greasy. Some states are just going to incorporate their lottery system to operate the whole thing, and they're going to look at it as, well, we wouldn't have to do this if it weren't for sports betting. So here's our cut, and here's how we're going to work it. And that's, I think, the initial worry, but still exciting. It's still an option. So I'm not completely negative about it, but yeah, it's I'm treading lightly. I'll say that to start, walking on eggshells, because it might not be exactly all roses and peaches and cream and all that to start.
In Indiana, where you're at, what do you think the timetable might be for something like this to get going there?
Not till September 2019 is what I'm thinking. We're one of the states that's, I think, what is it? There's 6 states that are on the fast track. It's Jersey, of course, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, West Virginia, Mississippi, and New York. And only 4 of those really are set up, wheels in motion, with established places to, like casinos and stuff. And then the other states, like I said, they've got little beefs and equivalent. Like California right now, I think it's got a 3-way beef of tribal casinos, their little clubs, and then racetracks. So there's so much legwork yet to be done, I think, in a lot of these states' situations, and we're definitely one. We're not even in the first wave. I think we're in the second wave, which would be best case September 2019, which hopefully would coincide with the season starting then. But this whole football season and the next basketball, all NBA, any of that, still going to have to wait and travel. That maybe Illinois gets something, or actually West Virginia is not that terribly far. So I mean, they're the interesting part about I'm reading about West Virginia is that they're waiving their integrity fee completely. That's not even a part of their gambling to start with. So maybe the juice in your odds might be best case in the great state of West Virginia there. So I mean, that's where I'm targeting first. But in the future, there's going to be some neat potential for this because of your state versus state competition, and how non-residents are going to be limited, or your state residents will have restrictions in other areas. But I mean, I've got options to go Fort Wayne. I could go over to Toledo and then up to Detroit. If I had better odds on certain games, it'd be worth the gas. So I'll tell you, I was thinking about you, Brian, in your area. I'll bet you. Just thinking in the future here, maybe a year away, Pensacola to Mobile to New Orleans is not a terrible drive, and you could get different odds
you mentioned
on
that,
games.
But you mentioned that, but the Beau Rivage Casino in Biloxi, Mississippi, which is about 50 minutes to an hour from my house, they've already closed a restaurant down inside the casino, and it is being remodeled as we speak to open a sports, and they will have it open by July.
Outstanding.
Mississippi is wasting no time, sir.
Yeah, Jersey, West Virginia, Mississippi, those are in Delaware, but they're already kind of legal. But yeah, those are the first 4 states, and man, how many miles is that for you?
I want to say 50. I mean, it's less than. It's maybe a little bit more than that, but it's maybe an hour drive door to door from my house to the casino.
I'm gonna have to investigate that January.
I may become a fellow degenerate like you there, Joe Everett, by the time football season rolls around. But I can tell you one thing, Joe. There'll be 48 states approve legalized sports betting before the great state of Alabama does, and for that they get this. Because the state legislature of Alabama hates money. So, with that being said, another thing I think with this the passing or them basically saying this is okay now state by state is for a person like you who has the side hustle going, writing about gambling and betting and stuff for the like you do with Bang the Book. I think this is going to be great for you as far as that goes, because there's going to be more people out there looking for this kind of content. And I just think that this stuff's about to blow up.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely what we're hoping over at the site, because I mean, nothing will change over for them, I'm sure. And, yeah, I'm definitely getting started on some of those, doing some NFL season previews, little college football previews, and hopefully have a little bit better results for myself this year. But, yeah, it's. I think it is a growth industry just because now that people can do it legitimately, there's just going to be no stopping someone that would have been casual too. Even the person that may be a fan of their team, or just it's the time of the year, it's the playoffs. They're a little geared up, and they're like, LeBron's not going to lose game 3. I really want to get down on this. This seems obvious. That casual bettor now will have a legal, legitimate outlet, and yeah, it's definitely going to pick up. So I think, yeah, it not only is that a growth industry, I'm telling you, reading about some of these tribal casinos, man, it's like a no-fail. They've already got all the money on their side. So, like, I don't know, getting a job there or in the integrity business, I really think this is going to be a part of it, because did you read that story on Pro Football Talk about, well, Malcolm Butler's being benched in the Super Bowl? Bill Belichick makes that crazy decision. Now, how does that get treated with all this sports betting? Like, is that going to be invested? And I think that's part of it. You're going to have, like, well, did we have any outlandish bets, any sort of against the norm or outside the bell curve type bets on a regular Super Bowl? And would that have corresponded with the Malcolm Butler bet? You know, it's something I think, like I said, I swear to it, dude, we're going to hear integrity quite a bit in the next year.
I do think this is going to be a boon for the TV networks, because they're going to now have, you know, endless hours of content to provide, plus the advertising revenue is probably going to go through the roof. Joe, one more thing before we get off this for the day. Like I said, you're at the Senior Bowl every year. I'm at the Senior Bowl every year, and the Senior Bowl was in the news over like a week ago now with Director Phil Savage and the Senior Bowl. We'll do the air quotes here. Mutually parted ways. What do you think the words mutually parted ways meant, and what do you think the future of the game is going to be without Phil Savage?
Well, it's one of two things. I think Phil got a better job that we just haven't heard about, or it's they really want to go in a different direction, and just Phil's not having any part of it, and they just kind of had to agree to go different directions. But man, I can't imagine they would want to mess up a good thing. It seemed to me, I thought Phil was doing a great job, and really, I'll tell you what instantly crossed my mind is the directors of those other all-star games, you know, East-West Shrine, NFLPA, they're popping bottles finding out that Phil is leaving Mobile, because he was really skimming those small schools right from them, man. You know, like maybe back in the day they got Brandon Parker, or, you know, maybe they got Alex Kappa. You know what I'm saying? Like years previous to Phil being there, I think some of those cracks, whereas Phil just nailed them every time. You know, it's like, oh no, Marcus Davenport, you got an early invite. You know, we've been on Brandon Parker from the start of the season. It's like, oh man, none of these All-Star games had a chance before, whereas now, who knows who they hire? I think, you know, yeah, the rest of the other events had to be smiling there, because Mobile, man, they lost a good one there. I'm worried about the future. Hopefully they get a good candidate, and like I just hopefully it doesn't change, because really I thought it was just a marked improvement, and kind of the prospects we were getting in town, dude. It was creme de la creme, in my opinion.
Yeah, my biggest fear, and it's pure selfishly motivated, is whoever they bring in now may not cater to the little guy in the media anymore, like the Senior Bowl under Phil Savage has done the last 6 years, that allows a DraftScouts.com to send 1 to 2 to 3 representatives down there, or allows somebody like Deep Fried Draft, who has, very little traction in the world as a whole. And it allows those guys, access to the players and coaches and, all the events outside of the practices and the game. And I would hate to see that go away, especially, something as local to it as I am.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's always a big worry. But, I mean, I think it's still such a draw, like not just, obviously it's more touristy draw, like they want that dose still, but I've got to believe they want media, like a throng of media is kind of covering a lot of these things just to get that extra type of exposure too. So I mean, there's still part of it, like with like interviews, getting quotes out there. I mean, that has to be part of the process. So they can't eliminate that, at least.
Not to mention all the fat cash that those out-of-town guys like you bring in, and staying at the hotels and going out to eat 2-3 times a day. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, that I think that the Senior Bowl, would lose out on if they start, cutting back on the media.
For sure. And I mean, like, because as you mentioned, it's not just like one person per media outlet. Oftentimes it's 3, 4, the bigger outlets. You're in the 10s, 12s, it adds up. I mean, now granted though, me and my brother go up on the cheap on the hotels, but it still adds up over the week.
Right. One thing I did want to add to this, was an article came out on AL.com this week by Craig Stevenson, and, he's speculating, as we're all speculating, but Phil Savage had a quote during the press before the game this year about, basically talking about what a shithole Ladd Stadium was and this and that. I'm quoting, he didn't actually say that, but, that's my word, not his. And, there's a lot of people thought that, he's basically insinuating that the game could move and such of that nature if South Alabama was to build an on-campus stadium. And that could have, eased him out, so to speak, with some of the muckety mucks that run the game. What's your opinion on that?
Well, that would make some sense. I mean, it's definitely there's got to be some correlation, because they do love Ladd. I mean, that's in the history there. I mean, heck, I do too, man. I'd be kind of heartbroken if that game wasn't at Ladd. Just go there every year, kind of thing. It's a tradition, and I don't know. Having it at South Alabama, that'd be kind of odd.
Odd for you? 15 minutes from my house, Joe Everett. Would be great for me.
No, I can't hate on that, man. I can't hate on that.
But anyway, yeah. But I think the game attendance may have played a factor in it, because the attendance has actually gone down every single year that Phil Savage was running the game, and that may actually be the deciding factor here.
Huh. Well, that's a shame. I mean, I guess I could see the one aspect I don't like is just having too many quarterbacks there and then just juggling them around throughout the game. It is a tough game for them to watch, but I mean, I don't know that there's an exact way around that either. I mean, you've got to get at least 2 on each team some looks, and in every year's case, it's at least 3, barring some kind of injury. But yeah, I definitely think, boy, they need to get rid of that 8 quarterback thing. That's just maddening. I mean, I know in some cases it's, well, this guy's not even going to play. It's injury. We want so many people here, but man, it's I can sympathize with the fan. It's a tough game to watch if you're not just sitting there evaluating matchups and recording the game for prosperity and watching it, I don't know, 20 times. It's more of a tool than anything for people what we write about, as opposed to just the average fan. But I had no clue the game was dwindling in attendance like that.
Yeah, it was under 30,000. Under 30,000 people this year at the game.
Well, the weather too, though. I mean,
no doubt. And the weather was bad. And I don't know what you and TJ had to endure on the way back to the car, but I tried to wait it out for like an hour after the game, and it did not end well for me trying to get back to my car on the other side of the stadium.
Oh, dude, that was a good point. Like PJ remembered his poncho. I'll just say that. And I put my Nike raincoat to the test. Sort of thing. Yep. That's the age. What is it? 9 extra years is just that much extra experience. So fortunately, he had the camera and my laptop under his poncho there, and I just kind of roughed it, and that was a rough. Gnarly friggin' walk back to the houses up there. Those honest people on the other side of that.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I had a radio spot that morning, so I got to the stadium lot early, so I was able to actually park in the stadium lot, or so I thought that was good until I was at that point scared that my car would be bogged down in the mud hole that I had decided to park in. So that did not go well. Joe, thanks for giving me your time here on this Sunday afternoon and talking draft and talking gambling. And we'll definitely we'll get you back on before the season starts, and we'll go through some 2019. We'll start talking some 2019 draft as we get closer to Labor Day weekend.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I've got my way too early mock draft and rankings already out there. So if you want to just take a look at someone's horrible look and, like I said, obnoxiously early look, it's the senior class. It's out there.
Yeah, I'm rolling out everything at deepfrieddraft.com on June the 1st. Joe, I may have missed a few things, but again, and tell everybody where they can find your work.
Oh, it's NFL Draft Bible. All kinds of scouting reports coming out. We should have a podcast next week. Only we took a week off. The boss, Mr. RIC, moved, so getting everything situated with the new baby and all that. But we're getting the wheels working. I think Thursday with the like I said, starting to break down 2019, and then Draft Scouts. The whole dynasty movement, fantasy switch is over. It's on. We got the post-draft dynasty rankings coming out. It's basically a top 100 on offense, top 100 IDP. That's free of charge, and a little announcement coming over at Draft Scouts in the next, I'd say, month of June. Little something out there. I won't say anything, but just I'll keep posted. Follow me on Twitter, Joe W. Everett.
Hey Joe, again thanks, and we look forward to seeing everything coming at DraftScouts.com. Thanks a lot, Joe. We'll see you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks for having me, Brian.
That was Joe W. Everett joining the Cheapest Meal podcast here presented by DeepFriedDraft.com. Hope you enjoyed today's episode talking about the 2018 NFL Draft, talking to some Denver Broncos and Cincinnati Bengals draft picks. We talked about the Supreme Court setting the course for legalized sports betting in the United States, and we talked about some fallout from the Senior Bowl and Director Phil Savage. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Until next time.
There's a deal rolling in this week. Get a free $5 gift card when you buy 2 select household essentials from Bounty or Charmin at Target. So visit your nearest store and shop Target.com and stock up now. There's a deal rolling in this week. Get a free $5 gift card when you buy 2 select household essentials from Bounty or Charmin at Target. So visit your nearest store and shop Target.com and stock up now.